Okay, go ahead.
Bronze or?
Security.
No, it's not bronze.
Have you ever had, could you take it to the material science department at Northwestern and ask them to put it on the
If we
mass
were
spec
really that
and-
interested, Joan, we
Well,
probably
if you
could,
knew,
yeah.
then you'd know what the
But you
metal
know,
was.
as far as the silver goes, we have had jewelry done for Kalo at Solari. We've had 3 charms made so far, and I had gone in to see if we could have another one made, and after we found out what the cost was, we said, okay, on to step 2. Because just to
Ready?
have the jewelry, oh, is it time?
Yeah, can
Okay.
we call the meeting to order?
I saw you
We
looking
were
at it.
filling time. I know.
We were waiting.
Cheryl, can you call the roll?
Sure. Reardon,
Here.
Sandrick,
Here.
Barkley,
Here.
Responti,
Here.
Knight. Here. All present.
Thank you. Can I have a motion to approve the minutes of January 23rd? I'm sorry. I didn't know that was going to go.
Can somebody make a,
So moved.
Thank you.
So moved.
Second.
thank you.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Unanimous. How about the minutes of January 24th?
There were 2 corrections to the 24th. Number 1, Judy Barkley was here on time, not at 6:33. And Steve Skirmerhorn's name is misspelled on page 2. So
23rd.
move to approve as amended.
Thank you.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Passes unanimously. On to deliberations. Anybody have some further thoughts?
I went through and just quickly reviewed the ones that we had kind of set to the side just to make sure I hadn't missed something. And I don't feel that I did. So I am still with the 3. And of the 3, I am leaning more towards Charlie and Gareth than I am to Helen. Mainly because of numbers. We are trying to fill a slot that was filled with somebody who was very much a numbers cruncher. And I don't feel as strongly about Helen Fanning's. I'm sure she can balance a checkbook, but and I don't mean that to be flip, but I just don't feel as strongly about her and numbers as I do about Charlie and Gareth. So that said, I would set her to the side. That's my story.
And I pretty much came to the same conclusion over the weekend. And I set Helen to the side as well for just about the same reasons. Because we had such a good numbers team with Dan and Mark that with the loss of Dan now, we need somebody that can be a number cruncher in there because we need somebody that's a number cruncher. And I don't know if Charlie has as strong of a numbers background as he does an IT background. I mean, he's fantastic on IT, we know that. But that's kind of where I was at too.
So I looked at, and I'm first, and I already told Joan this, I'm glad that it was your idea to buy us more time, because I think we were trying to push an issue that night, and it wasn't, maybe we're all hungry or something, but, or at least I was. Anyways, and initially, I didn't get it with Gareth, and I took a real closer look at his background, and the way he answered the questions. There was one question in particular that I didn't like. I didn't care for the way that Charlie and Helen answered it, and it had to do with how they were going to communicate with the residents of the 5th Ward. Charlie took the approach that, I kind of like it to be more them communicating to me. And if I wasn't mistaken, Helen had a similar type of a response. And so, call me crazy, that turned me off a little bit the more I thought about it. Gareth was the only one that answered it the way I wanted it to be answered. Where he would take the initiative by email. And I really like that. I mean, that's the way I used to do it. So I had a little preference to that. As much as I would like diversity, on the council, I struggle with just favoring a particular candidate because of that. So I'm impressed with Gareth. I think he was very articulate, and I'd have no problem supporting him. And if I had to pick a second, I would pick Charlie.
I did the same thing too, kind of looked at my notes and went through the information we had. And I like Gareth, but he doesn't bring the breadth of experience that either Charlie or Helen brings. They've had more experience working with the public and, in Park Ridge. I'm sure Gareth had experience working with the public in his actuarial life, or not, I don't know. I had no problem with the communication thing. I know Danny did not have like a broad email thing where he went out to people. I mean, if people had questions, they would email him or call him or write letters.
Right.
There's still a lot of older people in the community that don't use email. So if they had issues, they had no qualms about getting in touch with him, phone call, any which way other than email. So I think, maybe Charlie and Helen were a bit more realistic about how you actually deal with your constituents. And I think, part of that is it's a great idea to communicate with email with everybody, but that's just not how it works necessarily. So I'm still going with I like Charlie number one because I think he could step right in, and I don't have a problem with the numbers thing. We also have
John Moran.
John Moran, thank you, on the team as well. And I just don't think it's that hard to come up to speed with all the numbers. And Mark Mizuka's there, of course, too. So like I said, I'm still came back to Charlie and then and Helen.
It sounds like I followed a similar process to everybody else. In addition to that, though, I reached out to a couple of people. One was Marty Maloney, because there were some questions about what the council needed. And I did not give him names, but I sort of asked them, what would be the best thing in your mind? Well, what kind of skills and talents are you looking for? He suggested he wanted somebody who could fit in right away, and ideally they'd like another numbers person. He said there are a couple on the council that we just heard about, but Dan played a particular role, and although it's going to be impossible to replace him, it would be nice to have somebody with those skills. I specifically asked him, because it was a question, do you think that an attorney would be valuable? And he said they've got an attorney. He does not believe that would be a value-added skill set unless the person had particular experience in working for municipalities. Just in general, attorneys, his approach was sort of, in general, attorneys can do a lot of different things, but unless they have the specific skills that we need, that specific background, it's not going to really help us all that much. So he's looking for someone who can fit in and numbers. So I thought, well, if those are the things, then it's Charlie and Gareth, sort of some of the others that come through here. I also reached out to somebody else I know who's pretty tied into the local community, and said, have you looked at who applied? He said, yeah. I said, who do you think would be the best? And he came down with the 3 names that we have.
I guess that shows how smart we really are.
Now, everybody thinks that, well, everybody meaning the 2 I talked to, think that Gareth is the unknown, and I think that too. He probably, in my opinion, has the most upside, but nobody knows anything about him, except for our half an hour with him.
But
The
can I
safe,
say something here? Who knew him until he was ready to go?
right,
I mean, so we can't look at it from that perspective, in my opinion.
right.
Because everyone that comes up and steps forward on the
At some point,
ballot-
yeah, at some point, you're gonna be an unknown.
Exactly.
It depends. I mean, I chose a path. I mean, nobody knew me when I jumped on. But I had served with the park board. I had served planning and zoning for,
Right.
for a few
Well, see, I
years.
knew you,
So
but
you
I was
weren't
probably
You
alone.
the
knew
only
me.
one.
Yeah,
I was the
right.
only one that did know
But
you.
in terms of, outside of the kids I coached, playing soccer,
Right.
people didn't. You know what? At the end of the day, I think it's a leap of faith. You try to make an educated decision. I think, you know what? I really do think all three candidates are good candidates. I don't think there's a bad pick. And I think that's the good part about it. So I can't sit here and because I felt myself lobbying the other night more than I should have, and that's not what it should be about. Because in the final analysis, but to be candid, I don't know any of the three candidates. I don't know Charlie. The first time I met Charlie formally is when he came in for an interview. But I do know about Charlie from talking to people over the years. But I was really impressed with Helen from if you take away the history part of it, the prior involvement, and you just look at if I was a business owner, I mean, to me, in terms of the interview, I thought it was a home run.
Yeah.
I was impressed with the way she represented herself.
Right.
I'm not making that up. But this is, it's not a business.
It is business though, Sal. This is the business of this community. It's a very
It-
important business at every turn. So-
I would call it something different. I know what you're saying. I would call it something different. But in any case, I really think there's three good candidates. I think we'd be remiss if we did not. This is just my gut telling me. Without going with having another numbers person is not a bad thing.
No, it isn't.
It's not a bad thing. I appreciate that we have already have one person. Mazuka's a bit of a math person too.
Oh, no, I know. He's a whiz kid.
He's a risk analyst.
Okay.
So that by its very nature, requires him to be a numbers type of person. So, but I don't.
Well, I'm gonna jump in here and say, okay, we have our numbers person, we have a risk analysis. Maybe we need somebody with more IT background than the actuary, who is definitely numbers. Maybe we have numbers covered. Maybe we need
IT, I think, is an important. I love that point, Joan. I really do. Marty's an IT type of person. He sells IT.
I think at a
But I mean, you have to understand
right,
IT
you're right.
to
Right.
sell
But I
it.
think he's at a different level than Charlie.
Charlie puts the IT together, so Charlie,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Marty sells it. Marty could sell anything,
Right.
so it wouldn't.
Yeah, so there's that to think about. And as I say, I've kind of taken Helen out of the mix, so I'm really down to two. And
Based on that point, maybe we could, I thought I heard what everybody's top two was, or are. Can we say those again out loud? Because there might be a choice here already. So we know your top two, John.
yeah,
Judy?
Gareth and Charlie.
I'll go with that.
Charlie, no.
And mine would be Gareth and Charlie. And it sounds like, at least to me, that if we can all support Charlie, four of us can't support Helen. Well, we could, but not in your top two. or not in our top two, and one of us can't support Gareth in our top two, but we can all support Charlie.
Again, for me, I don't think there's a bad pick,
I agree.
don't. But I think in just going around the table, if that's, I would support that. I mean, I think it's, I really don't think there's a bad pick, including Helen, for what it's worth.
I don't either.
Well, would Gareth be, how many people think Gareth would be their top choice? I mean, he would be mine.
The more again, there were certain things that appealed to me the deeper I looked.
Yeah.
Again, not knowing these people is a disadvantage.
You know what, though, you're wrong, because some of us do know Charlie, some of us for a long time, and yet you come in with a totally different and objective perspective on it,
Right,
having just basically met him.
right,
We could be jaded in our opinions, one
Right.
way or the other,
right.
because
That's
of
a good
our
point.
knowing him for so many years.
That's true.
That's a good point, Jimmy.
I would rather hear reasons, and just from a pure educational standpoint, not for nothing else, that because it appears the consensus would be Charlie, based on what you said. Tell me, I would want to know why we wouldn't want to support that. I guess is my question. And I don't want to get you on the spot, but it's like if you know him better and there's something that educate me so I can make an informed
I
decision.
don't know him that well. The only time I ever see Charlie is if I run into him around town or having worked on Dave Schmidt's 2 campaigns.
Right.
That's the sum total of my experience with Charlie and the Grilling for the Arts. That's
might-
very surface. It's not. There's nothing.
I mean, there's nothing that.
No.
The way I guess what I'm not going to hide around the bushes. Is there anything we should be worried about?
Oh, you mean
Is there anything
you
that
mean
I
like
should-
Paterno?
Yeah, exactly. like
just
a
never
lot,
knows, does one?
like a lot like that. Is there
Well,
something that I
travel.
should be worried
No,
about?
Charlie's
Because I
a
don't.
church guy, you
Gareth?
don't
Okay.
have to sweat.
Well,
He's a-
25.
that doesn't mean
But
anything.
everyone-
No.
Oh my
Come
God.
on, come
I forgot about those.
Where have you been? Where have you been?
I forgot about those pre's. The meds I'm on. Sometimes.
Right. Yeah.
I just think
I was
Charlie
thinking
could
about
fill in
Jim and Tammy
seamlessly.
Faye.
Listen.
And then I think Gareth is a little bit of an unknown in that area. I'm friends with Charlie the same way you are, working on the campaigns and the Grilling for the Arts and, seeing him around town. But, I've been with him enough to see, one of the things I really like about him, the respect with the way he treats people with respect. I remember, the 3-5 years we've been doing this grilling things, and can I have that burger well done, or can I have that burger medium rare? And Charlie, he just dealt with everybody the same way, and he was just kind, and I was just like, "You're kidding me! These burgers are this big.
Cook
You
it
want
yourself.
medium rare?"
Here's the special.
And Charlie would be like, "Don't worry about it." I'm like, you're right. I would just see him treat people
You know
and
what?
listen and be respectful, and that's one of the things that he is really bringing to the table. I don't know anything about Gareth in terms of that.
Unfortunately, I have a business friend. I haven't seen her in a long time, and he was fairly snarky to her.
Where, at the Grilling with the Arts?
No.
Oh.
Totally outside
Okay.
of Park Ridge. This was
Okay.
in the work, and it was nothing horrible. It was just there was an edge. It was snarky. She was a nice person, and he was. But that was years ago. So
I
and
can
that
just
is
talk
in
about
my
what I've
brain,
seen
But you know what,
unfortunately.
Joe? I have seen him snarky to people. So, but he's normal. I
Yeah.
mean, we're all that
Yeah, but
way.
as
so,
absolutely.
as an alderman, you can't be snarky.
You shouldn't be.
I'm sorry. You
There's a difference.
shouldn't be
There is
snarky.
a difference.
Like, there's things that you tolerate,
And you know what?
in everyday
Right.
life, but as an older person, you really do just need to let people vet sometimes.
And you need to chill.
And
Yes.
chill.
And I'm not saying that he wouldn't do that. I'm just saying that, like all of us, there is a little snark.
Yeah, I found it really hard. I'll tell you. I mean, as a member of the council, that was one of the single hardest things for me to do.
Patience.
Yeah, because in the private sector, what I do for a living, I wouldn't tolerate a fraction of those
Right.
things. So that was arguably one of the hardest things for me on a personal level. So, but
I think in the main, he's a good person, and
I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
I didn't mean to interrupt. I've known Charlie for at least 10 years. He lives next door to a good friend of mine, Dave Mazza. I've been at parties with Charlie. Our daughters played soccer together. I've been on service trips with him to Louisiana, and I believe he's a nice person. He values people and their comments and stuff. I have not seen the snarkiness other than, at a party, telling jokes and stuff. And sometimes,
yeah,
whatever.
good thing you weren't at the parties I was at. So.
As I think I said in the last meeting, he has, in my opinion, he showed in the interview more substance than I had seen from him at the parties and stuff.
I totally agree.
I've had a lot of beers with Charlie, is what I'm saying, and a lot of joking around, and I saw a lot more substance than what, I probably already knew he had it, but hadn't seen it before. So I can absolutely support him. I think that
In
he
all
would,
seriousness, and I do mean this, do we have any indication of anything like what we've seen in the last week with Paterno, with
God, I hope
tweets
not.
that are inappropriate or Facebook postings that are questionable?
Truthfully, I don't think Charlie go down that road.
Well, I don't either, but I'm just saying.
It's a different world. I mean, I think I think that's
one
a
thing
real.
to.
That's going to be more of a topic moving forward than. I mean, you may just have thought of that, but I'm going to tell you that's going to be a topic, a conversation in local governments, not just here. I mean, around where it's. But I remember them coaching us as a new alderman. I remember them at the time. We had the city attorney coaching us on, how to deal with social media, how to deal with email, and
You're saying
basically.
District 64 didn't do that?
Yeah, well, pretty much. Well, if he didn't, apparently he never showed up for the training
Yeah,
if he
maybe
did,
there.
right? So it's I would hope that still goes on, with new members of the council.
I would hope so too. And I have no reason to believe that there's anything out there lurking.
well, maybe whatever recommendation we come up with, we should suggest that Marty has someone look into their social media background and make sure there's nothing out there.
I'll tell you
Well,
what,
that's a good
I
idea. I
tried to
hadn't
do it
thought
on
of
my
that.
own. I mean, you'd be surprised at what you can archive, whether it's Facebook. Once it's out there,
It's out there.
it's out there. I mean, I tell my kids this all the time.
You know what?
And
Bless his heart, my husband's brother-in-law, the attorney we all love to hate, said something very smart to us about 50 years ago. Always get it in writing, never put it in writing. And you know what? We
Very
have
good.
lived by that.
I liked him. I liked him.
That's interesting.
Yeah, he's a multi-gazillionaire right now.
Yeah, God bless. Yeah,
But,
no, I second that, by the way.
I mean, I've been around the confines of this place
That's
long
funny.
enough to have seen what goes on, and when the FOIA requests come in.
Oh,
And our
Lord.
city attorney has 26 boxes of FOIA material going down to somebody.
You know, it's so much, I wish, you know, I get social media and the benefits of it, but what I miss is the, you know, the verbal communication aspect of
Yeah,
it. so.
you know, if Paterno had made his statements to his good buddy over a beer,
Never know about it.
we'd never know.
And that's wrong.
Well,
No, it
With
isn't,
all due
because that's his
respect.
own personal, and he can say it personally, but he should never
when
be
you put it
doing
out
it
there for the
publicly.
world to see,
I don't know, as
Well,
an
and-
elected official though, I think you have a different obligation than a member of the general public. You know, what you, at least that's, I was under that impression, maybe I'm just naive in that respect. You know, I think you gotta learn how to keep your mouth shut, and if you don't
and your
want
ears
to,
open.
yeah, exactly. You know, be a good listener. So, yeah, but I don't, you know what, listen, Gareth strikes me as a real smart person, just really smart, and,
And I actually had a chance to talk to him at Marty's
Afterwards?
party.
Oh, okay.
I was there, and I looked and I thought,
It looks familiar.
God, is that who I think it is?
That's funny.
And I walked over and chatted with him for a few minutes. Here, he struck me as being rather shy. I think the fact that I recognized him probably, you know, took him aback, but he was very pleasant to talk to. And I made a statement, and I'll say it again, even on the tape. I think I could get beyond the British accent again in the 5th Ward.
I chatted with him at the party also, just
Yeah.
superficially.
But he was very pleasant.
Yeah.
I mean, we didn't discuss any of this at
No,
all.
no.
You know, it was just a matter of nice.
yeah, I mean, to be an actuary, yeah, you gotta be pretty intelligent. I mean,
said
that's
something
one
to
of
my
the hard,
husband.
that's one of the most difficult, disciplines to
I said
pursue.
something to my husband. I said, you know, that we interviewed a guy who has a master's in theoretical physics and he's actually working as an actuary. And Jim looked at me and said, well, they're both math oriented. He said, makes all kinds of sense to me. I said, okay, never mind.
Yeah.
You know, I was thinking about this from a Fifth Ward standpoint. And one of the biggest financial things facing us, I think, facing the city, is the flooding that is not in our ward. That it's going to cost, I don't know, I've heard numbers as high as $100 million to fix. I don't know if that's accurate or not. From that standpoint, I like Gareth because as the actuary, he's going to be the one who assesses the risk and says, basically, are we really going to spend $200,000 or $300,000 or $400,000 per house to protect these 28 houses or whatever the number is from flooding once a decade? Or, you know, I'm just making numbers up, but you get the idea.
Yeah,
Where
well,
someone's going
yeah.
to step forward and
Yeah, you know, Mike, that's a great point. Look, I'm in the insurance business, and I will tell you, flood is like our number one concern.
Mhm.
And a lot of it has to do with climate change,
Mhm.
okay? But what bothers me about, and this is, I'm kind of showing my colors on how the city is approaching this, and I said this when I was on the council, coming up with a master plan to address 5 and 10-year floods is a catastrophic mistake. We don't do that in the business world. In the business world, you address 100-year floods. If you're going to do something, if you're going to spend that kind of money, you address a 100-year flood. Because what you're going to do, if you go out and let's say you do get the support to go out and spend 9 figures, let me tell you something, that 100-year flood happens, and it happens across the country every year.
right.
Okay, so what are you going to tell those people? What's the answer? Oh, we didn't plan for that. So to me, the whole flooding concern, it is a concern. I think the cost is going to be a lot more than if you address it properly.
Right.
I mean, you need the Army Corps of Engineers to come in like the city of Des Plaines did and come up with some ideas,
Mhm.
not some private engineering firm.
That we pay so much money
You follow? I mean,
A lot
to
of
me, it's an issue that I get crazy over when I look at the videos, because I know everybody's heart's in the right place, and we have people who are suffering, and something does need to get done. I get that.
And can I be very, very cold about this whole thing? Several years back, when Kent Olivan was still our
Can I
finance
have a
man,
glass of water?
he was,
Of course.
Randy and I ran into each other on the steps, and he asked me point blank, "What do you think of this, Judy?" And he thought, well, that's an odd comment coming from finance. And I said, if you
Thanks.
want my honest opinion, I purchased my home in an area that I had checked out, that I knew didn't flood. Now, Joan's still in the business, I've since retired. There are disclosures out there, and have been for a long time. So when somebody goes up to, and I'm not gonna name sections of the city, but a certain section of the city, and purchases a house for considerably less than what you would purchase it in a non-flood area, knowing it floods, why am I responsible for that? I mean, that sounds very cold and cruel, but that's factual. And there's a lot of people out in the community that feel the same way. That these areas sell a heck of a lot less than they were.
Yeah, and if you, not to ride your dovetails on this, but if you look at the problematic areas of town, that was unincorporated many years ago, that you know, not we, but the city made a decision to bring those into the family, and I don't think kind of thought long-term
Well,
from an
I think
infrastructure.
we could discuss flooding until the cows
Right,
come home.
exactly.
Thank you.
And
Are we off
but
track?
I understand your point in
Just a
bringing it
little
up
bit.
because it's not an issue necessarily in the 5th Ward. So how is our, as
I
it
was coming-
impacts us,
It is, because, you know, we're gonna pay for it, or.
I was going down the same path Judy was. It is our issue because we're gonna have to pay
Right.
for somebody else's flooding.
yeah.
And it could be 9 figures, you know, well in over $100 million. And just my opinion, and this is opinion only, is Gareth might be the person who could make sense out of this, given his background, his risk assessment, his actuarial background, the financial piece. He might be the one to say, you know, we can't plan for a 10-year flood because we have those every year now. You know, it's got to be a
And there,
100-year.
I mean, those happen, yeah, to me, 5 and 10-year floods, you know, people,
Right.
you don't, seriously, when you want to mitigate or prevent flood, we don't recommend to, you know, Fortune 1000 companies, protect yourself from the 5 or 10-year
No.
flood. Are you kidding me? We'd be out of
Right.
business
Right.
if that's what we did, so.
Anyway, I think he could bring some value to the most expensive issue facing us that Charlie probably can't. That's the upside I see. The downside is, I think Charlie could assimilate very quickly. He knows the players, he knows how to get along with them. He could assimilate like that and start making contributions immediately. With Gareth, I think it's more of a long-term thing, and probably, or not probably, possibly not even in the first 2 years, but he, you know, in order to make that contribution, he'd have to run and get reelected.
I'm going to say something here because I watched him down at Murphy's.
Okay,
I think you're incorrect.
okay, I didn't see him.
I did,
Okay.
you know, and I kind of watched him. And he was very much at ease talking to other people. A lot of people may or may not have even known who he was. Joan and I were probably the only ones that actually recognized him. But I saw him talking to people. He was very much at ease. And I thought, you know, he looks like a scared rabbit. I shouldn't say that. But he does. He looks like a little scared rabbit. But he isn't.
No, I think he's polished.
And
I was,
actually, he and Charlie were talking.
Exactly. You know, and it was...
Well, maybe, is there a, would there, what if he like was asked to be on the flood commission, or, you know,
The
to
task
put his,
force.
the task force to work and put his, that stuff, to get him up to speed on that, and, you know, if you think his number skills are really gonna be so helpful in a situation that's gonna take several more years to figure out.
I'll tell you what, a person like that would be invaluable.
Yeah,
On
absolutely.
on a task force like that.
I don't know,
Yeah.
I made that up,
Yeah.
I have no
Yeah.
idea, but
Okay.
I'm sure there must be like
There
something,
no
I don't
more.
know.
They
Is that
are
what
not
you're trying to
anymore.
say?
They
Okay.
haven't been for
No.
a while.
Okay.
Yeah,
No.
it's been a few years.
What about the stormwater? Is there a stormwater?
No.
Not yet.
But there probably.
No, probably not. They've already
glad you're here,
taxed us
Cheryl.
for it, so.
Sorry.
No, that's good.
Yeah, I mean, I had no idea, but maybe, you know, that would be something.
And I know that Marty had appointed Alderman Moran to Finance and Budget. Now, whether that's a temporary
Well,
appointment.
John's got a background, he's a financial
right,
planner.
right,
He's CFP,
right.
so he's.
Yeah,
So-
the way the cows are structured, in the old days, it was different. You know, all the aldermen didn't go to the finance, they all go to all the finance,
Right.
all the
Right.
committee meetings anyways. So it doesn't,
So there's
I think it doesn't
opportunities to
preclude.
get up to speed
Right.
and everything.
and worst case scenario, or at least maybe from Garrett's standpoint, there's nothing that precludes Garrett from not going to the cows
Mhm.
and participating, you know, from the audience. I mean, you do it, you know, there's a lot of people that do it, and you have a lot of influence, whether you might think so or not. I mean,
Don't say that.
And you
at
learn.
the end of the day, you know,
You learn.
you have, sometimes you can actually have more influence from, you know, the audience than you can from within the horseshoe.
Mhm.
And it's all dependent upon who is sitting in that horseshoe
That's true too,
And what the subject is.
and what the subject is.
Correct.
Correct.
correct. But I would like to think that the people who are sitting there and the people, at least in recent history, you know, listen.
You know what just popped into my head?
Mm.
When we're talking about not knowing who this person is and things like that. Oh my God, we had Jim Smith. Okay, I just got glazed over by half the people in this room.
No,
But
I'm
those
not-
of us that
I don't know if it's
know-
appropriate for us to go there. That's
Okay,
all I'm saying, Judy.
I'm just
I mean,
simply
you use a
saying.
friend, and I'm like, I'm not sure
Yeah.
that's appropriate for us.
But I'm saying.
I'm not
that
disagreeing with you,
all I'm
but I just
saying
don't think it's
is,
appropriate for us
You
to go
know,
there.
we had him and cope with him. We have somebody here who doesn't need to be coped with, who actually
Neither one of
can,
them.
right, who
But neither
can
one of them,
actually
correct.
produce and be very much a part of the city council and the 5th Ward. And as a frequent visitor, and I will be again soon, I hope, I like to see people up there that are looking out for me.
Mhm.
I'm the taxpayer, and I'm more concerned about, are you looking out for me and my pocketbook than whether you're a good boy or not, truthfully. I mean, sorry, you know.
You know, on that issue, Garrett said something interesting, and let me see if I can find the quote. I don't see it right off the... If I remember properly, when he was talking about infrastructure and the flooding, he made some comments about how much should the city spend and how do you divide it up between those who get the relief and those who might not get any relief but have to pay for it. And he was looking out for, I think, those who have to
pay.
pony up.
Yeah.
That's what I took away, that it's not only, it's not the city that has to pay, it's the taxpayers.
Yeah,
that
because the
have to
city
pay.
is nobody without us.
Right. So I liked that. That was one of the good things.
And I remember him making that statement as well, or, you know, something very close to that. And I think that's an important attribute.
Yeah.
You know, I know Mark looks out for the taxpayer. I know Dan looked out. Dave absolutely looked out for the taxpayer. And I want somebody in there that's going to look out for the taxpayer. Because I see my tax bill.
Yeah, well, be looking at 64, not the city.
Oh, God, let's not even go there.
Yeah, I mean, the reality is the city represents about 11%.
Less than that.
64 is 41.43.
Yeah.
Isn't
yeah.
that something?
The schools in general are two-thirds,
Yes,
so,
it's gone from 50 up.
so I don't know, I'm not sure we're helping the discussion.
No.
But it's, you know,
Well,
I
they
think.
can't say we didn't deliberate.
Yeah, you know, I mean, I mean, and I hate when we do this because but I think it's the right thing to do. But you know what, I'm cool with either one of these individuals. I really am. I think, you know, there's different, you know, it's okay that each one brings different value. I think both of them would be a good fit.
Mhm.
I don't see any problem with that. You know, I don't know either one of them personally. I know more about Charlie than I know about Garrett. But you know what? And this is meant to be more of a funny, you know, for an actuary. He's got a pretty decent personality. You know, I mean,
Actually, he did,
you know,
yes.
I'm not trying to. I mean,
like it.
I'm being funny, but I mean, he seems like he's very genuine, and you know, he did a good job, you know, of answering the questions, and you know, but so did Charlie. I mean, I saw a lot of passion in Charlie, and that's
Yeah.
Charlie's style.
You know what, I'm gonna
think.
go parliamentarian on it. I'm gonna call the vote.
I was hoping not to vote. I was hoping to get consensus.
You know what, I actually have to pick somebody up from the airport at 6
Okay.
o'clock.
Sue, based on what you've heard, you didn't have him in your top two. Can you support Gareth? Because everybody else can.
I
Not-
guess
not
I
that you-
could, you know,
Okay, so everybody could support Charlie and Gareth.
Okay.
So
Easier.
maybe it's a,
I told you to bring a
yeah,
quarter.
who's your number one?
Oh, God. As much as I like Gareth, by a hair, I would say Charlie.
Okay. Judy?
I'm gonna go last.
Okay.
You know, I trust me. I mean, to me, Garrett is impressive, but I'm going to stick with Charlie. That's my number one choice. You're forcing me to make a choice. You're putting the gun to my head. I'm going to tell you.
You gotta make a choice.
It's to me, I would stick with Charlie.
I prefer Charlie.
I say by a hair, it's Gareth. Judy, I know you didn't want to be in this position. I can support, by the way, I can support either one. I'm 100%
Same
on
here.
either one.
Please don't take it.
Yeah, me too.
I think they're both. I wish we
Judy,
could just
what were
tell.
you?
I wish we could
I
tell.
haven't answered yet.
Oh,
dear.
oh, okay. I thought I missed you.
No, you
No, I
didn't.
interrupted, sorry.
Okay.
Where's the quarter? I swear to God, where's the quarter?
I didn't bring
I
one.
think I
I
have.
don't have any change.
Because it's come down to that. I would let luck do it.
You know what, let me throw out an idea. Sue originally did not have Gareth in her top two. Based on that, maybe we should, maybe Charlie's our guy.
You know
I
what?
mean, if he was
Just
in
not to be
everybody's top
obstinate,
two.
I'll go with Charlie as well.
Well, the only point I'm trying
It's
to
not
make
my
is
top
he was.
choice. I think
right.
Gareth would be much better on our city council, quite frankly, as far as a taxpayer perspective. However, Charlie's a very nice person. I think he'll fit in on the council. I don't have bad feelings about Charlie. I just don't know that Charlie is going to bring what this guy brings.
Mhm. Well, he was the only one in everybody's top two, you know, so.
Yeah, I don't, listen, I'm fine with either one. I hate getting pushed like this, but I'm just telling you, you know, because this used to happen on the council, and you're forced to make decisions.
Right.
And sometimes, you know, there are two good choices.
And how lucky we are to have
Yes.
two good
Absolutely.
choices.
You know,
Absolutely.
I would love for us to recommend to and let them make the decision, let somebody else make the decision, but it's.
That's not
That's
what
not the
we're
job.
That's not what we were asked to
That's not our
do.
job, unfortunately. And like I said, I'll just yield.
Can we ask Gareth to move to a condo in another
How
ward?
about it?
I have a ward in mind. I'm not sure if there's any condos there, but you have to tell me that.
So did we end up with Charlie? Is that
I
where we
I
are?
think
suppose.
so.
I think so.
Okay. We have a recommendation. I'll send Marty an email. I'll copy you. I'll copy everybody.
And what Marty said to me Friday night was he does not want the press to get leaked to by anybody other than him. I don't know exactly why he said that to me, but he did.
Okay, I'm gonna
And I
send him the
understand.
email today. You're gonna have to publish these minutes, and it's gonna be out there.
But does
Yeah,
it,
that's fine.
I don't have to do them right away.
Okay.
I would say,
I would only say because you
I
want to
would-
give, if I understood the process, Marty was going to call the other candidates
Yes,
up.
that's what he told me.
And I think out of respect,
Right.
I don't know if that means you want to hold, I don't have the discussion with Marty or.
This is
do
Marty's
whatever.
process, so I will wait for Marty's direction
Okay.
to
And that's
do,
basically
to
what
do
he has said
whatever,
to
just
me.
as
I
we
just
have
don't want
done.
the other candidates
Exactly.
hearing it or seeing it in the paper.
But he wanted to talk, he said he wanted to talk to both of the other, he didn't say losers, but the other ones that didn't make it.
But
Yes.
To
wouldn't
see
you
if he
wanna
could
talk to all of
encourage them.
Wouldn't you want to talk
Well,
to all of
hey,
them?
that's not up to me. That's up to Marty, but he said
It's
the
Marty's
two,
process.
because he had
Right.
heard there were
Right.
3 of them. There were 3 of them.
State statute, it's his process. He has until February 20th to
Okay,
present a
however
name.
you want.
Whether or not he does it on the 13th or the 20th or the 6th, that's up to
You know,
him.
and one nice thing is we were able to accomplish this well before the end of January
Right.
for him, so.
Right.
Mhm.
You guys,
No.
He's
you
got
guys
time.
move.
Now, a secondary recommendation that I thought I heard, let me make sure I'm right before I send it to Marty, is that we would like Gareth to participate more at city council meetings and stuff.
well, I think Helen too.
Okay?
I'd like them, yeah, I agree with that. I'd like to see them both, I'd love to see them both run in 2 years.
Yeah.
A 3-way race is a tough race.
Yeah.
I've been there.
You know,
Yeah.
well, exactly, you know firsthand. And-
Yes,
and-
it's a tough
But
one.
I would love to see them debate,
Third ward
you know,
is.
like somebody moderate
third and
kind
fourth.
of
That's right.
debate,
Is it
it'd be
4
really
now?
cool to see.
No, it's only 3.
No, we have 4.
Gail
Okay.
and Ryan and.
No, we have 4.
Vicky Lee?
There's
Oh,
4.
God. Well, doesn't it have to go to a primary then?
No, 5.
5? Oh, phew, okay.
We were short.
Oh, okay.
Okay, just so I get it right, so Gareth and Helen should participate at the Cows and City Council meetings and run in 2 years. That's our recommendation for something Marty should encourage from them, correct?
Yeah.
Correct.
Okay, got it?
And we don't, but we don't want to make it sound like,
We're ordering them.
Right.
or that's why.
But it would be
we chose
beneficial, and
Charlie.
maybe, you know, maybe as,
We would love to
as a-
have their involvement in
Right.
the
Right.
city.
We think they both have
And-
value to bring.
Do you
Right.
know, when Gareth and I were talking, what's his name from the Park District? Phil came over. Phillips.
Mel.
No, I was
No.
gonna say Phil.
Don't worry, it goes and comes. Mel came over. And we started talking, and he said something to me, and I said, you know, there's always positions open on our boards and commissions. You ought to be looking at them, you know, kidding with him,
Our
of course.
board commissioner.
Nah,
Well, it's too
I'm not
late.
gonna go there. I'm talking about the city now.
Yeah,
I don't
yeah.
get involved in the other two that much except to complain. But there's plenty of commission openings here. You're always advertising them.
Yeah. I think we have about 5 online right now.
Okay,
Mhm.
So,
okay, good.
O'Hare Commission, which is a problem within the city.
Right.
Right. Yeah,
In the 5th ward?
yeah, yeah.
Especially the
Youth services, if Gareth is involved with the kids.
Okay.
Youth services is nice. So there's a bunch of things, yeah. Thank you for bringing that up.
You're welcome.
Good point. Do we want to keep on recording?
I'm sorry?
Do we want to keep on recording?
I
think
move
so,
we
till we-
adjourn the meeting.
Okay, okay,
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
okay.